Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Today, I would like to talk a little bit about tightening your belts. This is an idiom, which means that when you lose weight, your belly is smaller, and so you tighten your belt. It refers to a time when the United States, because it's an American idiom, and it refers to a time when the United States underwent depression, and people weren't eating well, and they lost a lot of weight, so they tightened their belts. This sequence of events seems to be repeating itself, and it looks like there's going to be some economically driven events due to very poor management behaviors on behalf of the government that has lasted 50 years, 100 years. And we have another idiom known as kicking the can down the road, meaning you don't handle the problem, you put the problem on your successor. And that's been going on for many, many years. Nobody has really addressed the problems, and problems have gotten worse and worse and worse. In fact, the ruling government in the United States, the current United States regime, is it's a system of massive corruption, and they're all aware the United States is collapsing, and it's a free-for-all where everybody is grabbing everything that they can before the entire system collapses. Well, I've got news for you. It has already collapsed. It has already collapsed. You are just not aware of it. There is nothing that can be done except drastic austerity measures. There's nothing that can be done for your government, if you're an American, my government, I'm an American, except drastic austerity measures. And therefore, the only thing you can do is to hope and alter your lifestyle to reflect the new reality. This alteration does not need to be so drastic, but you do need to adapt. So what I'm talking about is not fear-mongering discussions, worrisome vocalizations, absolutism, fear-mongering, nothing like that. I'm just talking about ways, and I'm not even talking about ways to cope either. I'm just talking about things that you can do, just little things that you can do, that will gently ease you and your loved ones and your families, if you're an American or if you're in the West, into the new reality that it now sits upon the West. Now, of course, there's still a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of noise about World War III and stuff. Yeah, the United States has been pushing everybody towards World War III, but it's pretty much inept. Fighting Russia right now, fights China, and that's when things will start getting really brutal. You haven't seen brutality until you started fighting the Chinese. So let's just talk a little bit here, just a little bit about what you can do to ease your way through this path. Now, the food, clothing, shelter, transportation, these are all necessities. These are all things that For the longest time, you and your parents and your grandparents have totally bought into this idea that you will hook into public or private provided services, and you will pay fees to get these services. And I'm arguing that the price of these services are going to increase to a point where you will probably have to make some tough decisions on how you budget personally. And because of that, I recommend strongly, and that's the entire point of this little video, is I strongly recommend that what you need to do is provide alternative low-cost solutions to supplement your current ways of doing things. So if your current your current life, let's use electricity for instance. If your current life requires 100% access to electricity, but that's provided by public utilities, may I suggest that that is way too much, that you should have a fraction of that controlled by public utilities. A fraction. And not 100%. Maybe 90%, and then you take care of the other 10%. That's a start. 10% is a start. Ideally, you want it the other way around. You want most of your stuff to be off-grid, self-sustainable, but you can't do that. You can't make those changes or make those adaptations in a very short period of time. That's something that takes time to do. And planning, you don't have time. You don't have planning, and you don't have resources. You can do something now. So the way to cut your dependence on electricity from the government and from local energy companies is through a selection of things you can do. The first thing is obvious. Cut your use of that electricity. Cut the use of it. If you are in a warm climate or in a climate with windy air and you're using a electric dryer, guys, you need to unplug that electric dryer. Start drying your clothes on clotheslines. Need to go old school, guys. Electric dryer is going to really drive up your electricity bill. Same thing with water heaters. The American water heater is this huge cylindrical contraption that contains gallons of water that you keep heated all the time. It's terribly inefficient. Get yourself a immersive heater. It's a box that hangs on the wall. When you need hot water, it automatically switches on, heats the water as you need it, and then when you're done, turns off. They got them throughout China, and the reason why they have them throughout China is because it's very efficient. It's a great way to meter the use of hot water, and you're not paying for this enormous amount of hot water that when you open up the tap it turns on in 5 seconds, as opposed to the immediate heater that you get hot water within 10 seconds. If you can't handle a few seconds, then there's something wrong with you. They're not expensive either. They're not immersive heaters. They're damn it, what the hell are they called? It's on-demand heating. It's an on-demand heater. Another major contributor to the use of energy, of course, is air conditioners and heaters. The winters, guys, you've got to have some kind of alternative system that will allow you to have or supplement your household needs. I argue, get yourself a wood stove, get yourself 2 cords of wood. Cord of wood is basically a flatbed truck full of cut up wood. Cost depends where you live, but it's from anywhere from $50 a truckload to $250 a truckload. It depends on where you live. 1.2 cords of wood will last you all winter. So I suggest getting 2 cords of wood. Okay? If you use a wood heater and keep your household heater on, but only keep it at a low temperature, say 60 degrees. Your house is not freezing cold, but it's not really well heated. It's just kept above the point where your pipes break or anything, and then you just live in the room with the wood stove. You will end up having a heating bill somewhere on the order of perhaps $300 for the entire winter. The entire winter. Wood stove, something you should have. Certain areas have banned it, but I don't think they'll go in your house to check that you have them. If you're an American, you might be in violation of some EPA rules, but who cares? Just go ahead and do it. You can't live a life full of fear. Cutting the costs in gasoline. Well, if you've got a Tesla or an electrical vehicle, you've cut away your dependence on gasoline, but now you have a dependence on electricity. 5 of one, 10 of the other. So the point is, I argue that you should have a bicycle. And if you commute to work, spend 1 day a week using the bicycle to and from work. It's a very simple solution. If you live too far away to bicycle, then you're in a real quandary there. You have to come up with solutions. I suggest a combination of bicycle and public transportation if that's possible. But if you're like most Americans, you rely on your car to get you around. Consider discussing with your employer having days where you work at home and the rest you come to work. Work out a system so that you're not carpooling. Work out a system so that you are not so dependent on gasoline. Food. Food is your most important item for your household. It's also the least expensive, or at least historically has been the least expensive. The way the United States has governed and the West has governed, I'm not quite sure anymore. I argue that it doesn't hurt to have a garden at your house. Take all those nice grass that you have planted in that yard and start planting. Start doing it now. Who cares what the neighbors think? Do it in your backyard first. Grow some plants. Put a fence around them. Because when things are going to get a little dicey, you'll be having food, but those that haven't been prudent are going to do nighttime raids. Put a fence up there, have a dog surrounding it, and do that. You'll have vegetables, lots and lots of vegetables. one of your best things to do, and I strongly recommend, is that you have a chicken coop. A small chicken coop the size of a doghouse contains 3 chickens, and that will provide you and your family of 4, you, your spouse, 2 kids, with enough eggs every single day. All you need to do is feed them. You feed them chicken feed or bird feed. Forget about giving them rice. Rice will not make chickens. But it doesn't matter. And there's things you can do. There's an entire subculture about people who raise chickens for fun and for pets and all kinds of stuff. That's what I strongly recommend. And of course, fishing. Rivers, lakes, oceans, you just go fish. Traditionally, you use a line, but you know, people, if you're fishing for food, you need a trap. This is a net trap. It looks like an umbrella. Pop it in the water with a couple of worms in there or some shrimp. You set it there and you read a book, play your cell phone, and then you get out there and you have enough fish for a big family. These suggestions seem radical because I'm sure most of the readership does not do any of this. I'm not advocating living off the grid or hardcore prepping. I'm advocating prudent ways to reduce your budget and your outgoing expenses due to your dependence on others for electricity, for food, for transportation. It's that dependence on others when the systems break down that's going to cause you problems. Now, right now, there's no overt evidence of societal breakdown, but it's beginning to crack. I have posted a video on one of the articles that you'll read eventually about what's going on in Sri Lanka. Yeah. The poorest countries are the countries that are hit first with this nonsensical sanctions against Russian gas. The poorest countries. Then the next poorest countries. Then finally the wealthy countries. All going to start hurting. What we're seeing in the poorest countries is a taste of what's going to happen in the rest of the world. Or not the rest of the world, the rest of the West. What's going to happen in the rest of the West. It's Americans say, oh, it's a global inflation. Oh, it's global unrest. Oh, the globe has sanctioned Russia. No, it hasn't. There's only 16 fucking nations that sanctioned Russia. The rest of the world, the rest of the 300 nations are on the side of Russia. It's a small minority cloistered together following the American model. Europe, America, Australia, Japan. And Japan is sort of trying to sit on the fence right now, actually. They're saying all the right things for America, but they're hoping that they can somehow steer away from getting between two massive nations. They're trying to steer between. Australia, on the other hand, has jumped all in. They're gung-ho to die for Washington, D.C. They can't wait to sacrifice Australians. That's what happens when you elect a moron, guys. Yep, that's what happens. So, the basic premise of what all this that I'm saying right now is that The United States government, which has led the world over the last 75 years, has also mismanaged it, has not been governing properly. And because this mismanagement and this poor governance, enormous amounts of corruption has creeped into the system. And now it's a massive festering mess that not only has no interest in getting out of this mess, aside from trivialities, but it's also a dangerous situation that is melting down before our very eyes. I argue that these things that everybody's talking about is already in process. World War III has been in process ever since Obama started it. The economic meltdown has been in process over 70 some years and really started accelerating in the 1970s in the United States. And what you see right now is the bottom of the barrel where the rats are trying to scrape the last remaining tidbits. And what I propose here, and what I'm talking about here, in this here discussion, is how for you and your family and your loved ones to adapt to this situation. Granted, it's not a forever situation. This may be a temporary situation, only lasting a few years, maybe just 3 or 4 decades. But you need to adapt to it. That's how you survive. It won't be a zombie apocalypse. Well, in certain areas, it'll probably be a zombie apocalypse. The important thing for you to do is sustain it, survive it. Having 50 guns is not going to put food on your table, people. That shit hit the fan idea of zombie attacking, that's not going to happen. But there is going to be an increase in crime. It is going to migrate into your area. You do need to prepare for that. And that means being part of your community. One person, one lone wolf, is an easy person who will die off easy. You need to be part of your community. If you're not doing something in your community, then perhaps you deserve to follow the historical norm of what happens to lone wolves when they try to handle things on their own. You don't want that, do you? No way. This coming changes are opportunities and good things. Things long overdue that are coming to manifest. And I argue that if you handle it right, not only will you be doing well, but you will be thriving. Many of the viewers here are not Americans. They are Americans, but are living in far other locations. For those of you who are in the West, but are not in America, say you're in Canada, in France, in Germany, Poland, Finland, Yugoslavia, if you're in Australia, and you're in these other areas, the good news for you is that I don't anticipate serious World War III events to engulf you and your family. I don't expect for the vast majority of the readership to be involved in a hot conflict like what we're witnessing in the Ukraine or what we saw in Syria. But I do expect you will need to tighten your belt to various degrees. And that means your association with community, your ability to use alternative means to get about when needed, and to be versatile. Be like water. You have to be like water to survive this period. Does that mean entrenching and buying up all the foodstuffs that's over at the grocery stores? No, but it wouldn't hurt to buy some extra before the prices get high. Not so much to starve off starvation, but rather, of course, to reduce your expenses. If you know that eggs are going to triple in price, wouldn't it be a good idea to buy some now? If you know that sunflower-based cooking oil is going to be difficult to come by, wouldn't it be a good idea to get some of it now? I'm just talking about prudent measures, basic prudent measures, intentionally designed to keep your costs low so that you will survive these events. There are so many people out there that are talking shit hit the fan, or prepper, or economics discussions. This is a little bit different because nobody really seems about talking about moderation or moderate policies for adaptive purposes. Nobody seems to be talking about that. It's always, the end of the world is coming, prepare for zombie apocalypse, by all this guns and survival. Or, we're all going to hit starvation, prepare for this by stocking up, here's all kinds of hints and tips. Or, here is a technical dissertation of what's going on and why it's going on and all this. This is nothing like this, guys. Right? These are just grandpa discussions about how you can adapt through changing environment. And excuse me. And I argue that adaptation is based on versatility. Having multiple streams of income, having multiple streams of access to food, having multiple systems in place for obtaining transportation, having multiple ways of obtaining electricity. One of the most basic things you need to have is a little tiny solar-powered charger or little generator for your cell phone. I sold these suckers. They're about this big. You plug it in your phone, you set your phone on a sunny ledge, and in 2 hours it's fully charged. Cost you nothing. Nothing. Better units have a built-in battery, so it just sits there, and then you plug it in. You know, they're not expensive. You can do that. Other systems are, you can get this little gas engine kit, a little one-stroke, little tiny engine. I mean, it's like this big. The thing weighs like 2 cans of Campbell's soup. You know, it's not that heavy, and you bolt it to your bicycle. Put the chain around there. It's not that hard to adapt your bicycle to, and it takes, oh lordy, it takes this just maybe a coffee cup full of gasoline, and it's good for riding your bicycle for 2 weeks. Why have it? If you're in a hilly area, it's a lot of work pedaling on a bicycle. But you have this engine on there. You can go up and down those hills no problem at all. It's like a little mini motorcycle. Looks a little funny, makes a little bit of noise, does its job. While everybody else is walking on these 4-lane highways because there's no gas available. or very little gas for expensive prices. You're zipping by. Zoom! Of course, you can go way old timer. You can go way old school and get a horse. And at this time, maybe out of desperation, joining an Amish or Mennonite community might not be out of the realm of possibilities. But that is the argument of joining a community that most people are not willing to do. While I argue all the time about the importance of joining a community, I'm telling you guys, that is your most important resource. And while you're doing well, if you're doing well now, contribute to that community. Put some food in the food bank. Meet people. Contribute to your community. Because when times go tough, the community will pay you back. For the most part. These are little suggestions that I provide. Of course, there's all kinds of other things you can do. There's many, many, many things that you can do. And these are just top of my mind discussions. If the event comes, if things get so bad that food is either non-available or priced beyond reach, there is something that you do absolutely need to have, and that's vitamins. They say take one vitamin a day, but I argue that as a supplement you take one vitamin a week. Stretch it out if you need to. You need to make sure that you're not going to get scurvy or anything because you won't have access to food. Hopefully, you will follow some of this advice. You don't have to follow all of this advice. And have food stocked up, be part of your community, and have systems in place to cut down your expenses. Will you be living a great life? That's relative. You'll be living a different life. A life with a little bit more exercise, a life with more home-prepared meals, a life where you're more active in the world around you and are aware of all the people who are around you, a more social life. And these things are very, very important because we're social creatures. You know what's so great about a cat, aside from their snuggling up on you and welcoming you when you come home? You know what's so great about them? They keep away the cockroaches, the rats, and the mice. If you are stocking up on food, you need a cat. Because I'm sure not everything you have is in cans. Cats will police your area. Make sure that no little rodents or critters are stealing your supplies. And you know what's so great about a dog? They will protect your land, raise a ruckus if somebody's trying to come in unauthorized. Their only issue is that they like to shit everywhere and eat shit. I find that repulsive, but I still love them anyways. So, now, I know a lot of you are like, I've never grown anything in my life. You start small. Growing lettuce is not that hard. Growing tomatoes are the most rewarding thing I've ever had done as far as plants. That, zucchini, and peppers, but I personally prefer tomatoes. And if you get a good hybrid or heirloom brand tomato plant, you'll be doing very, very well. I also argue for growing potatoes. Potatoes are wonderful. And I provided a video in one of the articles on how to grow them in boxes, cardboard boxes. They grow very well. If you're in an apartment or you're in an urban area, doing this is really kind of problematic, but getting it to be part of a community isn't. Make sure that if you're in an urban area, that you are part of a community. That is your biggest strength. Participate. Knock on people's doors. Be friendly. It's something that's going to help you a lot. You also have to, as I've said over and over again, you have to control the media. The media is filled with Vault 7 algorithms that are designed to alter the way you think. You'll find out that once you turn off all media for 1 week, your entire body will calm down, will not be so hyper. Americans are the most irradiated people on the face of this planet. But it's true throughout the West. Britain is very, very bad when that comes, as so with Australia too. So these little tidbits, these little discussions that I'm talking about, are just a means for you to regain control over your life to a level that you haven't had yet. Maybe to a level that your grandparents had, or maybe even they didn't have. If you're like most Americans, you will find that you've got a good salary and therefore you're driving a gas guzzling SUV and you're living in a nice McMansion with a lot of grass that you mow and everything seems fine. It's just prices are going out of control. If that describes you, more or less, then these simple suggestions will help you. A used bicycle will not cost you much. Just get a chain for it, because there's young kids that just love to steal bicycles. Okay? Once you get your seat adjusted, go to a local garage or a handyman and have him weld it at that location. That way, young youth won't steal your seat. Do that. Weld it. Tack weld. Just say, tack weld. Put it here. So why do you want to do that? And you say, because I don't want my seat stolen. Okay. The uglier the bike, the better. You have a brand new, expensive carbon fiber bicycle, you can expect that sucker to be stolen. An ugly 1940s bicycle and a mishmash of ugly colors, nobody wants it. We're talking utility. You don't have the luxury of flaunting your possessions at this point in time. If you commute and you have to go through these enormous areas of mass transit, remember, just because you drive certain roads to work does not mean that there aren't other venues. It's been my experience that there's all sorts of paths, back roads, back alleys, and everything that you could traverse on a bicycle, but you wouldn't dare do so in a car. And these things I have repeatedly stressed throughout my writings and everything, but one of the most important things that you want to do, and I'm pretty serious about that, one of the things that you really want to do is to use Hemisink to refocus and resettle your consciousness within your body. Hemisink. Okay? It will erase and readjust your body away from all this Vault 7 alterations to your mind. Hemisink. And I've got free Hemisink files over at the website. Free. You just download them. It's easy. And use them. I have, most people have positive results from that. Actually, nobody's had really bad results from it, so I really recommend it. And I'll be putting more out. I'll be putting more out in the future. And another thing is that you have to control your negativity. It makes no sense to have an affirmation campaign where you're thinking, what you want and you're vocalizing it, only to when you're not doing a campaign, you're bitching and moaning about everything. What you talk about is what manifests, not what you think. I say over and over again, what you think manifests. No. What you talk about manifests. What you think controls what you talk about. So control your thoughts, but most certainly control what you vocalize. If you don't have anything good to say nothing. Make sure you have a campaign. Your affirmation campaigns should be vocalized and should be running a full campaign on and off, on and off, on and off. Follow it. Recognize that how it manifests is a function of your fate forecasting, and I wrote about all this stuff. Fate forecasting is nothing that is too difficult to understand. You don't need to get into the mechanics of it, but you do need to understand that gravity influences affect how things manifest. Gravity affects their manifestation in this reality. For you newcomers, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but go to the website, you'll find out all. And basically, these are just techniques on how to change your reality. Your reality is not what you think it is. It's not what it looks like. Reality is something totally different. Being able to change it, that's a good thing. Good thing. And you have to follow the discrete rules. They're discrete. When you're running the campaign, you're thinking, you're vocalizing. When you're on your off cycle, you don't even look at your affirmation lists. You don't say it, you don't think it, you don't do anything. You just let it unwind. I'm currently on month 3 of my 4-month dwell. I have a 3-month on affirmation campaign cycle where every day I'm vocalizing my desires, followed by a 4-month dwell period of doing nothing. I'm on month 3 right now of that. I absolutely saw manifestations on the first month. Months 2 and 3 were dicey because changes were manifesting. And when I say dicey, I mean dicey. I mean uncomfortable. If you are new to doing affirmation campaigns and your life suddenly seems topsy-turvy, that means your affirmations are working. They're working. That's a good thing. So don't freak out about it, okay? Now I'm on the 3rd month and things are settling down a little bit. But they're still percolating. Still percolating, but they are manifesting. And I'll tell you, if you have a loved one, a spouse that is not fully on board, have some patience. Put it in your affirmation. And have some patience. They'll eventually get on board. That's the way it works, That's the way it works. So don't be too upset about whether or not they'll be in alignment with your desires. They will. You have to have a little bit of faith, baby. Have some faith, baby. Have some faith. Faith and the belief. Yeah. Guys, I have a lot of subjects to talk about. Talking about this because I feel this is a topical subject. We need to be very, very proactive in handling things, and we can't put this one off. You should have a stocked larder. Some people have said they have 3 months worth of stock. So that should probably be okay. Doesn't hurt to have more. I argue that depending upon where you live, you should have a lot of canned goods in a dry location. Nothing sucks more than putting them in a damp location and having them rusting out. Talking about rusting out, I live on the coast right now. I'm moving further inland. I'm going to the west side of Zhuhai, where it's not so west. So, anyways, because of the moisture from the ocean, all 6 of these big mega bottles of cockroach medicine had leaked, and because they're under pressure, and there's a little bit of steel. Even though it's a tin solder, the steel rusted through. So, they all leaked. And no wonder I didn't have any cockroaches anywhere, because there must have been this massive, massive puddle of insects killing medicine, insect killing chemicals all over my porch. So it really sucks. You don't want to have a loss of your canned goods due to being in a moist area. Use desiccants liberally, or find ways to keep your storage dry. Everybody say keep in a dry storage area, but we just kind of listen to it as sort of, it's one of those sayings that people say, don't smoke while you're driving and stuff like that. Basically, what you want to do is you want to make sure that the goods that you have are well prepared. So let's do a quick overview here, because I'm long in the tooth. Be part of your community. Get a wood-fired stove. Summer's coming. If you're in the northern hemisphere, get wood, get a wood burning stove now, because I'm telling you what, they're going to be really scarce really soon. Okay. If you live in Pennsylvania or near a coal-bearing area, get yourself some chunks of coal. Those things work great and are they burn hot. With your wood fire, you just throw a couple of chunks of coal in there, and holy shit, guys, you have no idea how hot your fire is going to start burning. They work really good. The idea is not to heat your entire house. The idea is to have one room in your house that's heated. The rest of the house, you just keep it a low temperature. Okay? You'll control your energy costs. Supplement your transportation needs with a bicycle. If you have the ability, go ahead and get a little motor conversion for that bicycle. Stock up on some food. Make sure you have a larder. Start a garden now. Start a garden. Get a garden going. And those are the basics. Nothing that I'm saying here should be really difficult to understand. Just do it. You'll be a better person for it. You'll be better prepared, and you will be able to be more versatile. Do not think that this problem is going to go away. This problem is going to get worse. Why do I say that? Because with all these multi-trillion-dollar budgets that's going on under the Biden administration, they're now just giving another $50 billion for the Ukraine. And they're talking now for another increase. So people, every time that they're throwing money in these increases, your inflation rate is going high. They're talking about spending money. That means you are paying more money. When the government, these representatives say we need to spend money for democracy, and we need to spend money to help them, and we need to spend money. People, when they say spend money, they mean put money in their pockets and you pay for it in the costs of everything. That's what they mean, and that's what you're witnessing. And America is going to wake up sooner or later, and the poorer countries are going to start rebelling first. Be prepared for it. You'll be okay. All right? And this was my talk, my little discussion. I hope it meant something to you. You've heard me go on and on and on about my thoughts on this matter, but really it doesn't really matter to you viscerally or personally. What matters is how you handle your life on your terms. Throughout our lives, we're being told by others what to do and how to do it, and what we're doing wrong. And I'm here to tell you that you are doing things right. You are the one who defines your life, because only you have all the information at your fingertips. Only you have experienced your pains, your strifes, your trials, your experiences. And you are because of your experiences. And don't let other people, corporations, governments take that away from you. Use who you are to make your life better. You are very special. You are very unique. And I see people, they visit the website, they read the videos, and still you guys have doubts. Don't doubt. I'm here, right here, to tell you that you can define your life on your terms. And it's time right now that you need to start doing it. Tell others of things you don't want to deal with because you don't want to, because you have your own reasons. You define your life. You eat the foods you want, live where you want to live, and behave in the way that you feel comfortable with, because it's your life, it's not anybody else's life. And sure, there's complexities in life, and marriages, and corporations, and governments, and everything that seem to make everything not so cut and dry. But I'm here to tell you, it is cut and dry. The only thing that matters, is whether you are happy. I just wrote an article, showed this woman, she cleans up in Japan after people commit suicides, and she makes these little dioramas of what the house looked like. These are lonely people, sad people, and they died alone and they weren't discovered for 8 months later. Don't be a forgotten soul that kills yourself in darkness. Go out. Be part of the community. Talk with other people. Participate in life. Make a difference in the world around you. And don't be sucked into other people's issues. Just be helpful. Stand back. Be kind, but stand back. Embrace that which you love, whether they're children, dogs, cats, squirrels, or rodents. Whatever makes your boat float, by all means, go for it. I believe in you, and I want you to do well. Never forget who you are. Be good. Strive. Be the Rufus. Be the best you can possibly be. Because you want to know something? I believe in you.